Danny Segura for MMA Junkie here in Miami, just days away from UFC 287, standing next to welterweight contender Belal Muhammad, who is here. You will be in the corner, right, of Ignacio?
Ignacio Bahamondes, so I'm here for. He's going to show out this weekend. He's been out for a year, waiting to get his visa and everything settled, but you guys remember his last two fights, two big finishes, and it's going to happen again this weekend.
Yeah, remember the name as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. La Hawla.
La Hawla, yeah. By the way, how's your Spanish? Because I know you guys are pretty tight. You guys train a lot.
Yeah, I'm getting better. I'm learning every single day. I'm trying to keep up with them. Shout out to Caro for teaching me. Caro is my teacher. So if I'm saying words wrong, blame her.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. And, dude, I want to talk to you because, like, obviously a lot going on in your career, also in your division. There's just tons of things going on. So let's start off with what's happening this weekend, UFC 287. We have Gilbert Burns fighting Jorge Masvidal, a booking that a lot of people originally thought was going to be maybe a title eliminator, given Burns, he's got some wins, and Masvidal, obviously, he's got the name. But then we find out that Colby Covington, or at least verbally, will be fighting for the belt. Your reaction to it, were you as surprised as everyone else?
Yeah, I was very surprised. I mean, for me, for the most part, I felt like I was the clear front runner. And then I obviously knew that if Masvidal would win, Masvidal would probably skip. But, yeah, Colby just came out of nowhere. It really didn't make any sense. But like I said, things change all the time.
Yeah.
Word doesn't mean anything nowadays. So I do think if Masvidal does have a nice performance this weekend and a big win, I'm sure he'll skip the line and pop in front of Colby.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you, because it seems like that was set on stone, but at the same time, Masvidal is probably the biggest fight for Leon Edwards, right? You think that it's not for sure? Like, Colby Covington could get skipped over this weekend?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this whole card's around Masvidal. Miami, it's in his town. You know, the drama with him and Leon, I think that if he does come out here, get a big finish. And I think he can. I think a lot of people are just underestimating. I think he could win this fight. Yeah. And, he's great on the mic, cuts a great promo. I mean, there's really no backstory with Colby and Leon. Like, there's nothing there. Obviously, with Masvidal, there is just something there. With me, there's something there. So, like, there's really nothing there that makes sense for why Colby is going to be ahead of everybody.
And I wanted to ask you about Masvidal's standing, because a lot of fans seem to be like, oh, Masvidal, 3-fight losing streak, this and that. But he did lose to Kamaru Usman twice, who's, at that time considered the pound-for-pound best, and Colby, who is maybe not challenging for the title next. Yeah. Where do you see him? Do you feel like he is among the very best of the division?
Yeah, I mean, Masvidal is the OG of the division. Like, I was a fan of his before I even got into the UFC. Like, he's one of those guys that he took the long road to get where he's at, and you got to respect it. So, everybody has those stints where it's like 3-fight losing streak, but the guys he's losing to, they were like terrible matches for him. I think Gilbert's not that bad of a matchup for him. I think Gilbert's wrestling isn't as good as Colby's or Kamaru's. Mm-hmm. His ground game is obviously good, but, Masvidal fought Damian Maia in his prime, and he didn't get tapped out. He didn't get submitted. So I think if he plays it safe and Gilbert gets emotional and it becomes just a straight-up striking match with all that energy, that Miami energy, I think Masvidal has a chance.
Yeah. With that in mind, you say a chance, but is it enough to put him as favorite, or do you have Burns going into it as a favorite?
Honestly, I get Masvidal winning. I think
really?
I think Masvidal will beat him. I think, Burns, I think his last fight was against Neil Magny, and he just, walked through him. I think the level of competition that Masvidal is coming from fighting, and I think that taking that time off, you get a little bit of reset. And we saw last time he took some time off, he resetted, came back, had a huge finish against Darren Till. And I think just that whole energy, the whole time frame, he knows that this is his last shot, and he knows how much money will come if he wins this fight, that it's all on the line right now. I think that he's going to perform. And I do think that it will be a finish. I think that Gilbert Burns, we've seen him get emotional in there. We've seen him just make it a striking match. We've seen him not fight smart. And I think that he does gas a lot. Masvidal does have a good gas tank. I think his last fight he fought really emotional, and he almost finished Colby in the, third or fourth round with a hook.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be all right.
Yeah. Interesting. And let me ask you this. You're obviously on a great streak. You're coming off a fantastic finish over Sean Brady. But what do you think you'll need to do in order to be considered the next title challenger? Like, how far realistically do you think you need to go? Because you've done a lot already in the division.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I knew it wasn't going to be an easy path. I knew that I would have to claw and scratch my way all the way up to where I'm at today, and that's where I'm at. Nothing was ever given to me. So I think for me, it's getting that what's that big name? What's the next guy where they think that, there's an excuse after every single guy that I beat, and this. So I think a guy like Kamaru Usman former champion, a guy that people consider the GOAT in the division, a guy that was the reigning champ for so long. I think beating a guy like that the mainstream world knows, the media knows, like that's what the only thing that really makes sense. I think because you look at it, like when Leon was on this long streak, they gave him like a Nate Diaz because they're trying to do something to build him up. The dude doesn't talk. The dude's not good on the mic. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't promote himself. But for a guy like me, I'm promoting myself. I'm pushing myself. I think the only thing else I need is just that one key win, even though I think I had him already. But I think Kamaru would be that win, that former champion. Makes sense.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did you have a recent meeting with the UFC brass?
Yeah. Dana and Hunter. Well. Like, you want to just hear from them what's their thoughts, why they're making the choice they're making. So I'm glad they heard me out. They sat down. So I think that we left that meeting with a good idea of what should be next.
Okay. And for you, that's Kamaru Usman. Did they agree?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if there's a big win this weekend, or Gilbert gets a huge finish or something like that, that would make sense. But I think at this moment, Kamaru makes the most sense.
Okay. Pending result of UFC 287.
Yeah. I mean, stuff changes all week. I mean, you never know. And like Masvidal said in this weekend, it's like, if Colby's trying to sue me for brain damage, how is he going to fight? So who knows if Colby could even take this fight. I haven't seen no poster or anything with their name on it, and the fight's not done until we see a poster.
Yeah, definitely true. And let me ask you this. If the fight does go down, I know a lot of things have to happen, but if Leon Edwards does in fact end up defending the belt against Colby Covington, how do you see that one playing out?
I mean, Leon, he's not really good against wrestlers that are pushing him into the fence. We saw him almost break against Usman in the second fight, but Colby sucks, and I think that he's not as strong as Usman. He's not as good as holding people down as Usman. In the third fight, Usman didn't have the same type of wrestling that he had the second fight. He just seemed like he was slower that fight, and coming off a guy that just knocked you out, I could understand it mentally, but I think Leon will end up pulling that one out.
Okay, nice. And lastly, I think a lot of fans enjoy, obviously, the mixed martial arts aspects and the fights and stuff, but let's face it, they also like the drama, right? The interviews, the whatever. So that's all fun happening at welterweight, right? Like all this crazy chaos, no pun intended. But for you as a contender in the middle of all that, is it frustrating? Do you kind of enjoy all the chaos as well? Or do you prefer, like, dude, just give me a straight path, let me know what I need to do, and that's that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely frustrating because I've been wanting to fight since the Brady fight, and I'm a guy that likes to use momentum, stay active. So it's like you're thinking that something's gonna happen in a certain way, and then all of a sudden it just gets switched up on you. So you're like, I wish there was a clearer path of like a bracket. Hey, you win this, and this, you're gonna get the title. But that's the game we play. There's no rhyme or reason for anything that happens, and all it takes is one freaking viral moment to change your life. So maybe I see Colby this weekend and something changes.
He said he was going to be present. I mean, you're obviously here. First of all, have you even met him in person prior?
No, I've never seen him. I've seen him once in Australia when he got hit with the boomerang. But then the cops were there with him and Verdum. So that was like the only time I ever seen him.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but could we expect something if you see him? Like, is it heated between you two, or do you not care about him?
No, I think that's the only way I can get my title fight is going up to him and smacking him. So we'll see how it turns out.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, and best luck in whatever comes next in your career.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you, brother.